Hi everyone, thank you for joining. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're watching from. My name is Vera. Thank you. It's an opportunity for us to meet on this platform today to learn and to discuss issues that will make us to understand our communities better, our cultures better, and our traditions better, so that we're able to hand it over to hand them down to our children. So we are happy today to have somebody in the studio with us today. I don't know him that much, so maybe he needs to tell us who he is because he's our special guest today. So over to you. You're welcome, my guest. Can you just introduce yourself to us?
Yes, I'm for me William Genge. I'm from Tala and primarily a researcher, of course, a PhD research fellow in educational leadership for now. But on this topic, I've been carrying out research since 1995, so almost 29 years today. And a series of institutions have enabled me to realize that before digging deep into the historiography of other people, it was very important for us to know about ourselves, who I am, and who my own people are. So I think as a researcher and a social science researcher, It's been very important for me to share the history, to dig deep into the history of our people, the Wimbum people, so that we can at least know who we are.
Wow. Very, very important because as you rightly say, if you don't know where you are coming from, if you don't know your history, you will not really know where you're going to. So we're happy to have you today in the studio, and I'm happy that you could really create time for us because it was just impromptu. I got, attracted by the comments you made because there was a conversation here the other day on marriage and divorce in the homeland where our time for me, Ike was here to talk to us about how marriages were conducted in the homeland. And from the comments that you dropped on that post, that's what caught my attention. And I realized that there was no library that we need to tap. And yeah, your comments had a lot of education and a lot. So we just, that your program is very charged up. It really created time for us. So today we will go bit by bit because we have a lot. So when you have the time, we'll be very honored to have you. So today we'll talk just about the history of the Wimbum people. So can you kindly just tell us who are these people? Where did they come from?
Yeah, the Wimbo people are a part of the Mbum people that we do have today in the Adamawa, south of Chad, and east of the Central African Republic. So, for reasons known to historical evolutions, these Mbum people have been divided into different kinds of, how can I put it, dialects. And the name Mbum actually came from the Zakawa people
Okay.
around the 6th century when we left the Middle East and arrived the southern part of Chad, that is the northern part of Central African Republic, the country where we call today Sudan, because sometimes people used to think that when they say we live around the Sudan, they used to think that it was this country. No, it was a geographic belt.
Okay.
So because we were escaping from Islamic invasion, we arrived there in different portions, found families of people, and the manner in which we arrived there caused the Zakawa people, who were the natives of that area, to call us the Mbum, that we just arrived, boom. So they believe that we just fell from somewhere, boom. That is from where the name boom actually originated. But what was very peculiar about us again was the fact that we were ruled by women. We were not ruled by the men. The men used to take guide, keep security, go for food, keep secure, go hunting. Meanwhile, the women kept the family, kept the secrets of the home, and quite often were like the real managers, the real leaders. If you've heard of Amina Reynolds, it's believed that she was a Kushite woman, just like the Yorubas used to think that the Queen of Sheba was Yoruba, but actually the Queen of Sheba could have been Yoruba, because you realize that we don't worship spirits. We worship one God. We even fear the dead as much as possible, not to talk of worshiping them. But you realize that we, the Kushites, all Tikaris, all Boom, we worship one God who may manifest himself in different ways. So we don't worship our ancestors, no, but we worship the God of our ancestors, because that God was not that wicked to our ancestors. They loved our ancestors, they kept them, and they brought them up to where we are today. So that's the reason why sometimes people mistake the value of our culture as syncretism, that it is introducing a certain God that is not being worshipped as the Christian God. No. The Christians, for them, for instance, impose on us to worship the God of Abraham. Abraham was not our grandfather. We had our grandfather. Don't, and they cannot tell us that God hated our grandfather that much. The Bible simply says that if you search God with all your heart, you will find him. And if you find him, you will worship him in spirit and in truth. So the Wimbum are a good example of people, of the godly people, godly worshiping people. Before even I go further, I want to take this time to thank you, Vera. my sister for long. We've grown up together, we've always been together. And especially to thank our elder brother, Dr. Kimka Oliver Njimbe. I want to sincerely express my condolence for the loss of our elder sister, Shashan Njimbe, because they have been also at the forefront of this project for more than 10 years today. And to thank for me EK, to thank Mr. Bashi, to thank Gilbert in Germany. They took a lot of initiatives long time ago to see how many people could be knowing themselves, and yet we didn't know ourselves. Even our grandfathers, we didn't know. So they were wondering what was happening. So they have been making a lot of efforts. And if I could come in, it's because of one thing: the experiences that I've gathered working for some other international organizations that were very intentional on carrying out what they call development history. Development history is different from the history that they teach us in school. In fact, it is more of something they call historiography. The difference between the two is that history is what they beat you and teach you to accept that that is who you are, whether you want it or not. And political systems normally impose history in the curriculum and then impose it on the teaching system so that you may forget exactly who you are and become what they want you to be so that they can easily manipulate you. So that's what colonialists did to us. On the other hand, when the government of Cameroon, as you see through the Plan International or through National Participatory Development for Development, what they call PNDP, when they want to introduce a new development outline for the nation, they impose on us something they call historical profiles. Here you do historiography. Historiography is not the history that they are teaching, is the truth about those people. You dig it as deep as possible so that you are sure of the quality of development, the quality of the value of the people, so that whatever thing you are bringing to the table or giving to those people, you are sure that those people have intrinsic quality, cultural values to be able not only to deserve it, but it should reflect them,
Yeah.
and then so that they too should have that natural passion to protect it. So I thought that I should make this brief, broad-based
Yeah.
introduction so that
It's
even when we
important.
are going into our origin and to know how we migrated maybe up to a certain level before next time we may continue from there, you should understand the reason why certain things, how we should be considered, what we call the operationalization of certain terms.
Mm-hmm.
Because today you find everyone fighting, talking about certain history, and then trying to classify people, of reorganizing every day. It is changing, but that is not a precedence laid by our ancestors or by us. It has been laid by political systems for the purpose of what people normally know: divide and control. And that is the reason why we are even fighting and killing our brothers in Cameroon today, left and right. So just because they don't really know exactly the truth about who we are. The Bible even says it that because of lack of knowledge, uh, God's people perish. So we are perishing a lot because we don't know that fundamentally
Yeah.
we are more united than what it appears to be.
Wow. That was a powerful one there. Thank you for that powerful introduction. I picked out one thing from there that as I said, you are a whole library. You have some facts that nobody really somebody like me, like now, you have talked about the meaning of the name Wimbum, the Wimbum, that became like
Yes.
boom, and we just appeared like boom. So pick up from
Yes,
there
these are
and tell
cowards.
us.
They still
So,
call us like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so where did this so exactly because as before now, I thought we originated from Chad. We were like there. Our roots come from Chad, but now from the way you have explained. So pick it from there and tell us how we left this Chad and how did we find ourselves on the plateau or where we are presently.
Yeah. So when we left the Middle East, like I said, in the 16th century, exactly, actually, with the introduction of Islam, there was Islam will convert people by force, but we had stayed there for thousands of years, even before Jesus was born. So we were very jealous of our own culture, and we were not so ready, firstly, to accept Christianity or to accept Islam.
Mm-hmm.
We had a religion, and we were known when we even left. the Middle East around Sanam in Yemen, and joined with some Egyptians. The Egyptians originally were called the Nubians. When they say Egypt was the cradle of civilization, don't think that is they are the Arabs you find there today. No, they were blacks. And some of the people who actually originated from Egypt, you find like the Bamileke, they were Nubians. The Bamileke, the Yorubas, the Beninois, all of them, you find one common characteristic with them is the worship of spirits. Okay, sometimes some Bamilekes don't even know, they think that they too are Tikaris. They are not. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
we left there from that 16th to 17th century and joined the great empires of Western Sudan. These great empires were blacks. They were African, what you can now call the Bantus, either semi-Bantus or Bantus, because when they are talking about true ethnic origins, we will say that the Mbums particularly are of Sudano-Sahelian, because we came from
Mm-hmm.
outside of Africa. Now, these other native civilizations that we met on the spot, they were quite evolved, and we realized that some of them even had the iron culture, some had the cotton culture, and some had different kinds of valuable things that we, the Mbums, had to even learn from them. The Chambers, for instance, they were part and parcel of the Nubians, and they already had the gun culture and the iron culture. They were both in south of Chad and north of Nigeria. So we joined them, and most of us, the Mbums, we fought with the Kanem Borno Empire. And at the collapse of that empire, we were the first people out of Cameroon to settle. When I talk of Cameroon, Cameroon was not existing then anyway. I talk in the context of today. We were the first external people to settle in the region we today know as the Adamawa, and at the time it was simply called Lower Benue.
Mm-hmm.
So we're the first to settle there. And from there, many people had we started actually migrating. Some went south of Chad, like you rightfully said. Some went to towards the East Africa, where you have the Gormaya area of Kenya. You go there, you find Boom people. Some went to the east of Central African Republic, and the majority remained in today's area where you call Gaunderi. Gaunderi, of course, wasn't called Gaunderi at the time. And take note, we did not have villages. We were just moving as a people. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
the best way you could have called the people was that we were a kingdom. We were a kingdom. And it is from Gaunderi around the 9th century, because the Kanem Borno and those empires started breaking down between the 9th to the 11th centuries, that we actually settled properly in Gaunderi. But the Islamists continued to pursue us because they found us very stubborn, firstly with our culture, secondly with the fact that women kept ruling. And it is
Mm-hmm.
from there that they drove us from Gaunderi to the place they call Nganga. Nganga. So you have Mbunganga. So it is in Mbunganga that you find so many of our other relics. And in Ganga, we had our mother that who was called Wuteng. So it's Wuteng who had Zukateng and Zuteng. Those were her followers. They were twins. So the Islamists succeeded in using those two to overthrow the woman who was ruling at the time, Wuteng. And it is from there that the Mbum had the first name Tikari, because they drove that woman Wuteng, they drove her Tinkala in, yes, Tinkala in the D language. I've not said Tumu. So even
Mm-hmm.
though the Tumu also call it Tinkala, when they want to say go away, originally they will
Uh-huh.
say Tinkala, go away. So that is how they drove that woman, because they tried to kill her, they tried to eliminate her, they tried to change her, they tried to transform her. It was impossible. That is how Wu Teng then left and then came to where we call Kimi. Kimi is where we have Bankim today. If you go to Bankim today, you find Bankim is divided into so many segments. And when we went to Bankim, Bankim was not free. Bankim was inhabited by the Tumu people. The Tumu people. So they were the original settlers. But since we had migrated for a long time and we were more civilized, we have and more organized, we made them to be saving us. and to be like our slaves. Take note, the word slave as used by in our dialect and in our culture did not mean the kind of slave you have in English today.
Mhm.
Slave was instead in relation to someone who was very faithful to notability, to the royalty.
Mhm.
So it was like a notable. In Limbum, they call it poor. That's the reason why you find a slave can easily become what? A town for me, a notable can even sit on the throne if the throne is
Mhm.
empty. You understand? So that name
Mhm.
slave was a very important name. Even if you go to the Sultanate of Rebuba today, you see them very important. They sit around the Sultan, around the king. So it was so the slave, the connotation, the deeper meaning of slave, empirical meaning in our dialect is different as used in English language. I think so many people can understand that sometimes because yes. So
Wow.
when therefore from Kimi, we
Mhm.
the Wu Tang delivered two children. The
Mhm.
first of them was Mangum.
Yeah.
Normally, as a woman, it would be considered this Mangum just simply means the mother of the Ngong or Mangong. It is like the queen of the kingdom.
Mhm.
And then the second born was called Tinky. That
Tinky.
was the son. Tinky.
Tinky. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, so the Islamists continue to pursue and to harass Wu Tang so much so that she had now to send Mangu into the forest so that they can preserve her from being killed because
Mhm.
Wu Tang knew how hard she struggled to survive. So that is how Mangu, that's the mother of Wimbum, that is how she
Mhm.
went and then she stayed at Namon Hill. Namon Hill is in Sabongari. If you go there right now, you see the hill up there at Sabongari, the place called Ngom. The cave there, that's where now she went and stayed with her own people. And thinking remained in Kimi. And see how things happen as the slave raiders and Islamists realized that Mangung had escaped. It became very difficult. They started attacking Wu Tang. And
Mhm.
when they killed Wu Tang, when
Oh
they
yeah.
killed Wu Tang, that is when the original natives now, the Islamists had already realized it, that they could easily use the original natives. That is when now the original natives came and drove Tinky from Kimi to where they call Rifem. So that is where Tinky now joined his ancestors. So the shrine of Tinky is at Rifem. Tinky had three children. The first of them was Njariyen. Njariyen is Fumban. The second was
Mhm.
Ngumso. You can
Mhm.
understand the meaning now because
Yeah.
she was a woman, and as soon as you have a woman, it means that she was going to be what? The ruler.
Ruler.
And then the third was Mbe. Mbe is yeah. And each of these categories of people had slaves around them, other vassal members, families
Yeah.
around them.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yes, like the Bafias, they had the Bachengas and all of that. The Ngunso had its own, and then Mangu, of course, had so many of them. So it is from that Namon Hill that the Wimbum people migrated to where you call Ngu today, and they migrated to Ngu in the 13th century. They migrated to
Yes.
Ngu in the 13th century, and the place is named Ngu after Mangu, that is the mother of Wimbum,
Mango.
and that is when they say we yes. So when we say we come from Tikari, the reference is actually at Ngu. If you go to Ngu, you will see the river that was named after the mother of Wimbum, that is Mangu. If you go to Ngu, you will see her shrine is right there, and people know it. The funniest thing with it is that some of our elders who know it make it to look like to mystify it. They hide it. They think that it's only for them to secretly go there and come back, which is
Mhm.
not right. Our culture becomes more valuable when we educate ourselves and even educate the others so that they should know the value we do carry.
Wow.
So that is who we are. On the other hand, Tinky's own children, of course, they migrated in the manner in which you know. Nguso left and then went stayed somewhere around where you have Nguso today, from where she went to Bamising, no, Babisi, where she delivered one child called Yafon, and he is the Yafon, who, that is the origin of Maya, that this Yafon like that, because she is the most modern of the original female leaders.
Hold on. That's why I said we have to go gradually. Because you're teaching. Are you guys? Are you having your pen and paper? Who is learning something? Put it in the comment section. You have learned something new today. Let's go gradually so that we don't miss out. We will reach the Maya. Eh? Let's go gradually because there's something the third here that I want us to come back because um, it means that the Wimbum people, their leadership was Wotan, the woman, right? And later on, there was this
Matrifocalist.
persecution. Yeah, Wotan, it made her to hide the children. And is it Mango? Yeah, Mango was the mother of the Wimbum people because
Yeah.
Wotan was later killed. Also, so how did it come? Because originally in the Wimbum,
She
it
was
was
not.
not.
She was Mangu was not killed.
I mean, Wotan.
Mangu was
Okay.
not killed. She lived. Yes. You mean Wu Tang? Yes. Wu Tang when she
Yeah,
died. Not so. Her
yeah.
yes. Her only surviving son who was there because Mangu had left was Tinky. That is the mother of Chariyen, Ngunso, and Mbe Bafia. And that is how the Tumu people were used by the Islamists to come and drive him from there, and then he went and died at Rifem. That's where their shrine is. So Tikari has three dimensions. We have three categories of Tikaris, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We have Tikaris of the Mbum extractions. Those are the royal Tikaris. When they
Mm-hmm.
say Mbum, you have these people, almost all of the northwest and the Mbums that are in the west and are in the Adamawa, most of them are of that Mbum extraction. But you also have the Tikaris of the Tumu extraction. Those
Mm-hmm.
are the people we met on the spot. Then we have the Tikaris of the D extraction. Most of them
Mm-hmm.
are at Nganga, okay, in Gaunderi. Nganga, right,
Yeah.
they spread right to the Central African Republic. Those are
Mm-hmm.
native Tikaris. Now, they were all called Tikaris for different reasons. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
why the Mbums were called Tikaris? Because we resisted colonialism and the white man's or Islamic religion, because Christianity
Mm-hmm.
and Islam, they are all of the same faith, Abrahamic faith. Don't mind that they pretend to be fighting. They are one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So they refused, they drove us because we resisted that. And they drove the Tumu people. We now started using the same appellation, Tinkala, to drive the other Tumu people. Why? Because we realized that as they were living with us, so many of them were cannibals. They were eating human flesh. So
I think
sometimes you
and
come and
that
you
one
see your child.
that one you a little bit well
Yeah, I can understand. So anyway,
mm-hmm.
exactly. So though they have different reasons for being called Tikari. So that's also one other reason why the last time you see a fawn, the chief, because chiefs we didn't have, like I told you, we did not have villages, not to talk of chiefs. So
Mm-hmm.
these are actually modern nomenclatures, all right, modern titles given for the purposes of colonial administration. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we were just farm families. We lived in farm families. But they know that they are all one family.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So yes. So that is how the Wibom people from Ngu now, because they were pursued by the Islamists continuously and as slaves, we had to migrate to where they call Mbajeng. We didn't go to Mbajeng as one big group. We first
Mm-hmm.
had because Mangu died at Ngu, so her shrine is at Ngu. Even
Mm-hmm.
her place of libation, and then the special spiritual river Mangu is right there. You go there, you see it right there today. And the people who are living at Ngu today, they call them the Kundong people, and they still give allegiance to us, the Wimbum. They are very proud that they were special slaves to us in the positive sense of the word. You go there, they
Mm-hmm.
will tell you the Kundong people, and then they will show you where Mangu's shrine is. And then the person who took over from Mangu was still called Mangwang. Now, almost similar to Ngu, always going to that Nguang, 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 okay?
Yeah.
So we still, yes, and then there's that Mangwang now who delivered the three princes who ruled, who actually are the three clan heads of the Wimbum. She delivered Talikong, she delivered Bomsa, and she delivered the prince whom we call Ndu. Oh,
Please,
sometimes some people call Ndu
the name is Aliko.
Talikong, Bomsa, and
Yeah.
Ndu.
Ndue.
So Ndu was the third. Yes, Ndu. So Ndu was the third. He had his name, but the thing is, he was very dynamic. And when they used to ask him where he came from, because people were known more by where they came from,
Mm-hmm.
he will say he came from Ndu, from Kimindu, because there were two Kimi. You
Mm-hmm.
had what they call Kimi Petel, which was the small Kimi, where those
Mm-hmm.
other people who lived with us, those as slaves, were staying. And then we had the Kimindu. Kimindu was the royal Kimi.
Mm-hmm.
Kimindu was the big Kimi, or where those royals lived.
Mm-hmm.
So from Ngu now, the third child of Mangwang, that is this Ndu, as he preferred to call himself, which was in reference to his royalty.
Mm-hmm.
He he left and went to Ntem, and in Tem to yes, into Ntem, yes. Then Tem people also migrated from around Tumu, from the Tumu. They are also part of Tumu people, the
Mm-hmm.
Ntem people. But they were one of the first people to migrate past us to go and settle where they are presently settled today. But they first settled somewhere in the hill just opposite where they are. And they were called the Nshie people. Nshie because they were very shy and sly. They were
Mm-hmm.
very cunning. And what used to happen with them was that when the 10 people came, they thought that they could make use of the original settlers of the land. And these original settlers were called the the Subum people. And these
Mm-hmm.
people, they used to sell
Let,
them as slaves. Then
let's
10 people took
I'm not cutting you short. Let's because we are trying to follow
limit
how
to
do when you take us to Ntemla to miss it out. Then
yes.
do when do settle, how did do settle in Tem then from Tem where did he go to before we come back to that? Yeah. So that we don't miss it.
From 10 from 10 from 10 Ndu went to where they call Bajeng,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that is when the slaves had finished at them. And then when the slaves had finished at them now, those slave raiders, they called them Baramia, they started discovering that there were some Bum people still hiding at the Ngu. As they were going to attack us, that is when now we left to go and join Ndu and Bajeng. When we reached Bajeng, Ndu instead invited his business partners from Banyo.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when the Baramia, they will come in that there is business. Because when you had people, it means you had business.
Business.
This is history. It has nothing to do with us today. It's just a learning process that we have to know in order to know some of the things that shape even our mentalities and our mindsets. So from there was fighting. The place is called Bajeng because which means the place of bows and arrow. Because
Mm-hmm.
people started fighting with bows and arrows in order to defend themselves. And then there was a river they call Kofata, which was in reference to how they were proposing money to the Wimbum young people were fighting. That why fight? Take money and give us your fathers. Oh, let us take. It is business.
Yes.
So, but
So
many reasons.
yes, please. As no, there were three. We have come only to do Bomsa and Calico. Where were they at this time?
Bomsa was the first to move to go and settle at the place where they call Mbirbo.
Yes.
Mbirbo, he moved to Mbirbo around the 15th century.
Mm-hmm.
Bomsa was
Okay.
he moved to Mbirbo around the 15th century, and he was such a good person, a nice man too.
Mm-hmm.
And when they used to come and ask him that where does he come from, he will say that he's coming from Bilbo. In other words, saying that he has just shoot up from where he's standing as if he was mushroom.
Mushroom.
And if
Uh-huh.
you go to, if you, yes, that is the meaning. So, and if you go to Ngu today, they will tell you that their grandfathers, great grandfathers, used to move. That is, Mangu used to give, and Mangwang used to give them provisions to take for shots to go right up to Mbibo in order to go and supply Bomsa with food. And that when they were coming back, they will come a different road. They will never ever use the same road as they go as to use the same road to come back. And they were proud to have saved us in this manner. That's the Kundong people of Ngu, of present day Ngu. So when the war, when the fighting and all the killing, people died, some went, I mean, were carried by the river. When it ended, Ndu now left and was going down further to, instead of going to join the rest of the other people with whom he was. And these the other people, they were called now the Yaku people. Those are the people like G, like Kakal, like Boyar. They had moved them away because they feared that if they continue to live down that kind of life down there, they might be sold as slaves. So they moved ahead and settled where you have Kuya, the Ya people. And the person, the prince who was particularly ahead and then doing these deals, he was selling people, but he was not selling his people. It was only when man one came with the others that he thought that since business had become very hard, maybe he could try another thing. So the war in Bajeng was because of that. And then when he left Bajeng, he went towards Konchep, and it's in Konchep that he now joined his ancestors. So you have the main shrine of our prince of Hindu in Konchep, and then the person who took over from him went further down to where they call Mbandung.
Hold on.
To Mbandung.
You know something? I'm learning something because recently I saw a video. The fun of Ndu was doing something in content, and I was asking myself, how did how come that I'm not getting it right? Okay, I said, but how
Yeah,
I did not really know. I have no is presiding over something in culture. You know, how can the fund? Yeah, what is the relationship? I get it now. Thank you so much for that. So please continue. Let me
it's
not
very
disturb you. I'm
important.
learning.
Our
Please share
ancestors.
if you have
So
any
we,
questions,
we
just put them in the comment section. You will help clarify us. We are talking about the origin of the Wimbum people. So if you have a question towards that direction, you put it, or you want something that you are confused with, is well loaded. We will answer all the questions. So we have just 1 hour today. We'll not make it very long so that many people will be able to watch. So put their questions. And I'm sorry for the echoing. And I don't know why today it's like this, but let's just manage and see. Okay, continue, my brother.
yes, so it's from Konchep that his ancestors moved to where they call Bandung. Bandung is around Berabe, where you call Fumba. So
Mm-hmm.
when he started coming back from, he reached there and realized that he was lonely. He was far away from his people. And when he started coming back, they started calling him Wendu, 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 which means that Mfumba, which means someone who loves what? Money more than people. Because in Wimbum, Wimbum language is very funny. The way they call you has a meaning.
Mm-hmm.
It's not beginning today. For thousands and thousands of years, it is like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an insult to anybody at all. It's just a fact. And it is in the process of coming up that he also met the family of Njila, of Njila Ngotong, who were also of the royal family of Nso, and it's a female from that family that eventually delivered the Mbinglos. You find the Mbinglos in so like that. Those are our children, you see. So we are still intricately related and still identifying one another in different ways. But unfortunately, what happened is that even though I don't want to go there because it is alleged that when they came back to at one point, these people from Gotong, they wanted to say no, since they were already royalties too, they should be. We leave that one.
Yes. We'll leave that one there, right? We'll leave
We
that. That
leave
one
that
is a
one.
little, that one
Mhm.
is a little bit
And then we
complicated.
go
We'll
back
leave that one.
and we go back now to Bomsa.
Yes,
Okay,
Bonsa.
Bomsa who
Yeah.
settled and Bilbo. So when Bomsa settled and Bilbo, he had 4 children. The first was Ntumbo, so second was Sop, the third was how do you call that place? Um, uh, After what down there, I'll remember the name in a short while. And then the fourth,
Continue
the,
now.
yes, the fourth got married to the persons to the princess of those who were settled in Tangbo division at the time, or what where they call Tang in Tabiken, and that one eventually went with the Boom people. They were the Boom people who were settled where we call Tabiken today. We came and met the people there. So that is how you say his children deliver. They move like that. Why? So sometimes you begin to
Wow.
now ask the question, who therefore, yes, we are. So who therefore was the person who stayed back in order to sit on the throne of Bomsa when the 4 children were all gone? Are you getting me?
I'm
So
getting you. I'm getting you.
that's the reason why you see Mbot is one of the most comprehensive, organized, and how can I put it, well cultured head of all the Wimbum people. They are in the middle, and they are really giving us the equilibrium at all levels. For instance, when Ndu was coming, he is the same person after all the atrocities who received Ndu and came Ndu at Yamba, a place called Yamba. And everywhere they stayed, they call the place Wendung. And it's from Yamba and at Mbot that Ndu left and then went to Mandung, the other place where is still Bomsas and Tumbo, the Mandung towards Tumbo, Bomsas that really gave him a place of settlement, and they called that place Mandung. And we did not have villages. No one should fool you that there were villages and that we had chiefs. We didn't have anything in our nomenclature, in our culture, in our tradition, that chiefs. We had leaders. The leaders were women, and they were you can call them kings, but you should know that they were called at one time Belaku, and at sometimes they were called Belaka. Do you understand? They were called Belaka. So that is how the Wa people actually spread it out. And the people, the families with whom they were moving, they kept staying in fertile lands, staying in places where they would have enough security, and they were considered as what? Farm families. All the people they're spreading out. It is the agriculture. It is a concept in agricultural extension support program where they borrowed from the British Green Revolution, where they considered people, farm families, they use exemplary so that these people could have food self-sufficiency. It means that they were settled, they were properly settled. So that is how we could call that in Limbum like Ntubi. And so the British and the French on the other side, so many colonialists had to organize all of these systems into what you call today as villages. He organized them into what they call villages, and then in order so that they could empower them, had to choose people who they felt they were versed enough with their culture and who will help them to serve as auxiliaries of their administration. Firstly, Their interest was not about our reality, about who we know. It was about them. And then to serve as auxiliaries of their administration in collecting taxes, enforcing human labor so that they could go and work for them, in keeping the peace, and in acting as spies. On top of it, they were being paid, they were being recognized, gazetted, and paid for that purpose. So eventually, they suddenly came up with what they call the House of Chiefs, so that all of these heads of this will be in Limbum, we call them two. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
They eventually, what's happening? Okay,
Yeah,
they
I can.
eventually
I just.
became, they organized something they call House of Chiefs, and then,
Mm-hmm.
and then passed around what you call the Gazette.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm getting you.
Something is happening.
You're on. No, you're on.
Okay, pass around the okay, pass around the Gazette, and all of them were gazetted and they were taken care of. And in response, they too had to assist the colonial administration in keeping the peace and in running the local population through a system of governance that the British call adaptation of their customary system of governance.
Hmm.
That is it.
Child,
But
history.
it was actually misleading because they didn't take interest into it.
Hmm. History. History
So
students, are you
yes, so
fancy?
this was not even, yeah, like I said, this is not history as usual. You have history and you have historiography. The history that they
Okay.
teach you and I is the history they want us to know. And if you they tell you that, say your name is Paul, and then you insist that your name is for me, they are going to mark you wrong. So when they mark you wrong 3 4 times, you will learn a lesson and start saying your name is for me. That is how you see so many people don't even know the names of their grandfathers. They don't
Mm-hmm.
even know where they come from. They don't even want to know. And that system of organizing farm families created a law whereby if you feel that you can constitute a traditional council and they vote you, you go and see even the Dio will recognize you as a chief. Finish. So it is just like, so it is a way to destroy our culture, to destroy our true system of cultural or traditional organization. It is not intentional. It has not been done by this government. It has not been done by Cameroonians, it or by Africans. It was done by them for their purposes. But we have just borrowed it, and we don't know why we are not united. But that is the reason. Because they destroy the niche of our unity. We preach Mumabi, Abiyunge, but above there, we will know that if they give you 1 franc or 10 franc, you will kill your brother. If they give you 100 francs, you destroy your brother. If you speak this truth as me and you we are speaking now like this, okay, tomorrow you can hear that they have killed him. So the reason is simple. There is a lot of authority and value in you when you know exactly who you are. The Bible says, if you don't know who you are, you will perish.
Mm-hmm.
The third of the three children of Mangwang was the one they
What
called
about
Talikom. That
Telecom?
one was Tala.
We have not talked about Telecom.
That is what I want to say now. If that one is Tala, is the one now that after the fight in after the fight in Mbajeng, is
Mm-hmm.
Talikom now that brought up the rest of the people to go and meet Bomsa, his brother, and his
Mm-hmm.
Bomsa who received him and settled him at a place called Bibu in Tambok in Tabiken. And his Bomsa who mobilized the rest of the people to fight and drive and push the Boom people, even appease them with his son. You can even go the son that got married to their princess,
Mm-hmm.
until the rest of the people now came and settled in Tabiken. So you see the 6 quarters in Tabiken, each of them is like an independent family of its own.
Family.
If you are to call it today in the nomenclature of the current administration, you will say each is like a village.
Mm-hmm.
You will say each is like a village because each quarter is not related to the other.
Mm-hmm.
So that is how Taliko came, settled and Bibu, and since the fighting was still continuing, Bomstar still removed Talikon from Bibu to go and settle him today in the place where you call Tala. And there, his family was called Bonjap. Bonjap.
Mhm.
Because when you saw in Jap and every other thing, you had to move with it there. And it was considered, and no Wimbum family ever disputed from the 1819. No one ever disputed that was the, even to the 19th century, that was the head of Wimbum. So what was very peculiar there too is that it was only there in Talata there was something they call Damgong. In the whole Wimbum land, it was like the house of worship. It was found only in Tala, Damgong.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, as this new concept of chieftaincy or multiplication of chieftaincy, which was to help the divide and rule system of the colonial administration, the multiplication of the system of chieftaincy continued to grow. You see, some people struggle up to now, they still don't understand what Damgong really means.
Mhm.
They don't even understand the meaning of who a Manjong is. But you find a lot of people more interested in fighting for the titles because
Mhm.
the greater population, there is something they call the foolish majority. The greater population is ignorant. And as soon as you come with some kind of regalia and you throw along with some kind of money and things like that, they say, no, that is the person to follow. So
Mhm.
that is how we've easily been manipulated. Yeah, we've easily been manipulated by materialism rather than by value. So it has somehow eroded the value of our history. But I want to thank God for Wikuda because Wikuda is wonderful. He's doing a tremendous thing. They are struggling a lot against the contrary forces. The contrary forces, how? Because they are trying to unite the people under that canopy of Abiyunge. But the people will not like to come together because they have been empowered to be separated so that they can easily be ruled. So everyone prefers that there should be chaos so that everyone should be benefiting from his own crumb.
Mhm.
But you see, they are doing everything, even especially those who are abroad and those who are in Yaoundé. Those who are in the village, just forget, they don't even think anything about it. They are more interested in when people come and give food, give this one. Even your own family can turn around to say they have their own chief that day. So they keep dividing us by that same system. Meanwhile, we keep promoting the values. Oh, we could, when I say we, because every Wimbum person by nature, in fact, we could unite every Wimbum person than any other kind of means that you can ever imagine. So if we truly can understand and then come together and then understand the creed of that Abiyunge, and then study, accept our history. Not that we are so studying it. What you are learning, so many of them know. Do you understand? But they choose to be alive with a lie because they benefit from the crumbs of those lies. Do you understand? So, but now you have a reconciliatory move which is moving along the line. You see, for instance, the founder of Tala, which is the head of Wimbum. We have a wonderful leader now who is really about reconciling this. And he does not fight too much about saying that you should be gazetted, you should preach so that no. He's more about visiting all Wimbo and then being neutral with every person, with all the Wimbo people. Do
Because
you understand? But
from
now it will be like
what you have just explained, we are one people, eh? We are one people. We are one people.
so
So this, yeah, it doesn't
yes,
make sense. I'm just sitting here and say, but what is all this dragging? We are one people. We are one
it's not,
people.
it's not created by us. Mhm. But we should be wise enough to know that someone wants us to be in chaos so that they are taking advantage of us.
Exactly.
But the person is wise enough to know that he has empowered some strategic key people. Firstly, by imposing or giving them their kind of education, and then adds value not to our culture but to their culture, because their education comes with their culture.
Mm-hmm.
which is a corrupt culture. You know, these people were called barbarians. These colonial people like this, they were called barbarians. Sometimes someone said the barbarian
Abi
invasion of England.
abi
Yes.
làwa jọ́ àbí làwa tí US mọ̀ solution àbí làwa tí US mọ̀
Okay. So what happened?
Europe.
That's true. So what therefore happened is that we are increasingly learning to be one another's keeper. We are increasingly learning to realize that we are closer than what seems to divide us. So
Mhm.
I think from there we can already know that we Wimbum is one Ngongbum. You can call it the Ngumbum kingdom. Yes. If you look at the rest of the Tikari villages that come, all of them they have one king. You have all the so they have one king. You have all the Bafuts, they have one king because they easily collaborated. But for us, we didn't collaborate easily because we were not just the head. We felt that we could not sell off our culture, that we were the real custodians of our culture.
Mhm.
That's also why when you joke with the traditional emblems of that original culture, like that of Tala, you don't play with it. It's very, very strong. There were many other things linked to it that I cannot just say them here, but I think that you should know. It is with time we can know because everyone has a right to know. It is not witchcraft. It is just faith, putting our faith in our culture and above all, practicing it to be sure that the culture reflects who we are. It is not trying to make it look good. No, it is making it be as it was. So I think that that is the something we have to know. It's not just like the issue about women. Women
Yes,
had those.
that's what I wanted to come there. So before we conclude, because from the beginning, I had the impression you said it was the woman that was ruling. So how comes that the woman
Yes,
was now has been pushed to we no more rule and we are you it's a male dominated I can say it's a male dominated culture. I'm sorry to say that. So how did it come about
beautiful,
that we were sent out of
beautiful.
the kingdom and you took everything from us and now we are just like observers?
Yeah, yeah. So when the last when Mangwang died
Mm-hmm.
and Bajeng, he
Yeah.
had remember he had only three sons,
Mm-hmm.
and then the son who remained with him was the one called Tali Kong de Tala.
Mangwan was a woman again because we are talking about when Mangwan that she
Mangwang was a woman.
okay because
Mangu was a woman. Mangwang was a woman.
okay I'll get it
These
now.
are people who live for more than 150 years. So
Mm-hmm.
Mangwang was a woman. So she had three children, three males. And then the
Okay.
male who took over
Mm-hmm.
the Tala, he went and again delivered another woman whom they called again Mangwang.
Mm-hmm.
And that woman, yes, and that woman again delivered another woman whom they called Mangu again. And that is
Mm-hmm.
why you see many people used to say that Mangwang was Nku, Mangwang was Nku. Yes, but we were not calling her Nku. We were calling our own rulers king or queens. But since these other people did not want that we should compare with their own kind of titles, so they could
Mm-hmm.
give us a different name. But naturally or traditionally, if you go to Nganga, they will tell you that the ruler is called, they will call her the Belaku or the Belaka
Mm-hmm.
of the Mbum people.
Yeah.
Yes. And yes, and every citizen of the Mbum will be entitled to be putting a stipend aside so that they could take care of him or of her. So when Man Wang, therefore, the idea of replacement, it came from firstly Christianity, because we had almost escaped and succeeded in escaping from Islam converting us by force.
Mm-hmm.
Islam did not want women to rule.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity sneakily through colonialism came in, and through the appointment of all those powerful men,
Mm-hmm.
through the appointment of those powerful men, they intentionally preferred men colonialism. And the Bible also prescribes that you who are a woman, you don't even have to talk when your man is there. Not in church, not at home, and that a woman should not rule.
And the
But
man is
for
the
us
head.
women, for thousands of years,
Mm-hmm.
yes, no, for us women was the woman. Until today, is still the woman. Secretly is the woman, because if your man jokes and you curse him, even by silent thought in your heart, it affects him. That is the secret that you don't know. If you are not happy with your man, there is nothing that will work for him. And if you cry, he suffers. And if you go outside because he's not taking care of you, if you go outside to to sleep with another man, it becomes known, it is he who will die and not you. So that secret authority, that secret power is still there. It's still there, even though we are flashing along all what we do have today, but our culture still remains fundamentally very strong. So the Mangwang, of course, in Tala, everyone knows. I told you that the Ndamgong there, but in order to conform to the colonial administration, that Mangwang had to appoint men so that firstly they should not kill her, they should not eliminate and destroy her lineage.
Mm-hmm.
That is how now they appointed. She would look for someone. The man that they had to appoint had to first and foremost learn the white man's education, and they were going to learn it at JIT. So that is
Mm-hmm.
how they went there, and then the man who learned, and then he came and he was in charge of what, representing the Mangwang in a traditional, in their customary court system that they had imposed on us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and in so many other administrative avenues that they wanted to deal with us. And then you find some of them, like in the man of Ngarum, who was also from that royal lineage of Tala, who was in charge of collecting taxes in all the Tankland. But they remained very, very honest and very faithful to Mangwa, to Tala, to that bone chap. If you go to Tala where they bend, they call some place Ndamgong like that. It is from there, right down to where you see all the royal inheritance, colonels, raffias, they're all there. No one can boast. You cannot joke there because that is Wimbum royalty. So it continued like that, and gradually they have physically seemed to have eroded it, but somehow you find the woman deep down there knowing that if they are angry, this thing will work like this. Recently, you find them in Cambe coming out to work. From sometimes you find that when they are angry, they mobilize themselves. They say no, they want to decry this thing. And when they decry that thing, it works. When they stand against something which is not good, it will work. So the authority, the secrecy of Wimbum culture remains in the hands of the women. The other entities, like the secret societies that have been put aside and said women should not go there because there are certain powers, authorities that maybe if you go there, you will not be able to deliver a child, you will not be able to do this. Okay, those are things that have been concocted today. Sometimes you can even relate or identify it like some kind of witchcraft. But our culture didn't have witchcraft. You did not need to come and invoke some spirits that should protect you so that you should be able to have rights or benefit for what you are not entitled to. That is not Wimbum culture. You were supposed to be where you ought to be by virtue of the culture of the people. So that's why I'm saying that there are a lot of efforts being made today by Wikuda and then by some major strategic funds. It's not because it's my fund in Tala, but if you look at what they are doing, is to reconcile and help people to look back at who we are and what our roots were, what even cultivated, from where this kind of practice comes, so that we should not deviate too much from the reality. So there is a lot of effort being made. Most importantly, let people know that we cannot forget everything about us just inside 100 years. If you go and ask all the British or the Americans, they can give you their history for more than 1,000 years, 500 years. But for us, after only 200 years, we are forced to forget because there's an educational system put in place which is meant to eradicate our own culture. Education is part and parcel of culture, or better still, is the best value of culture. So how we pass on our culture from one generation to the other, it's
Mm-hmm.
important. That's the reason why um, I'm so happy with the educational system in Cameroon today, introducing things like educational leadership and so many other education sector strategic plans, which is opening up the kind of closeness that the missionary and the colonial educational systems had imposed on us.
Mm-hmm.
So we are our education system strategic plans and educational experts in Cameroon. They are working gradually in order to ensure that there is a reflection of our true culture. But the unfortunate thing is that if you don't know that culture, you just take from where they taught you in school, and
That's
it
where it
becomes
all
a
gets
fight
to.
for all.
No. So
It becomes a fight for all.
if we want to continue, we will not finish. So that we'll be able to pick up this thing, because after this, the next time we are meeting now, we want to know how this clans, how they operate, right? And other aspects. We'll still
Yeah.
touch the aspect of marriage too, and because you have said something very important there, that even though at a certain point the men became dominant, because actually the culture is male dominated. We have been the woman is, so maybe this talk today
Yeah.
is meant to be considered, because
Yeah.
it's the woman who still
Yeah.
ruling, even though, yeah.
I want to just throw a bit there to say before we continue, next time when we're continuing, know that
Mm-hmm.
according to even the British culture and according to our culture, it was always the man that goes to the woman, even in the Bible. And the law says that you subscribe to the woman's culture. They don't say that you subscribe to the man's culture. It has never ever been like that. So it is chauvinism. It is, how can I put it? It is religion,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
that has come and imposed all of that on us. And today we are struggling to fit in a system that was not designed for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's important for us to know there is nothing wrong. We still have a lot of our other people, like you see, they come, they are still very matrilineal and they are struggling to
Yeah.
balance the two. But I can
Still.
understand that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I can understand that, and even in Wimbum land, it was a common knowledge just 10 years ago, or even 20 years ago, that those who used to rule are Bomjar. If you have ever heard that, they know. All our elders and all, and they say that, but since the power became very sweet, they don't want to hear that again. You understand? And they said that what they didn't want to say was that it was not only Bomjar, but it was Denjar. The women as themselves, they were the ones who were
Themselves.
supposed to rule. In so many of Tikari land today, it are the women who discipline the funds. Like in so, it is the ya. If the fund does something really bad, it is the ya. Okay? If he speaks, if he talks, it's final. You don't. So, but for the purpose of, you see, the fun of, so when he was angry, the people, he went and then removed the effigy of Ngunso. He's a woman, and removed her shoes, his shoes, and bowed down and prayed and begged the God of that ancestor.
So,
He's not praying to that idol. It's not. Someone should not think that the fun of Saul was worshiping an idol. No, he was praying to that God, that wherever you are, you were our ancestor, you brought us right up to this place where we have gone wrong. Forgive us, intercede for us. Just like you pray for Saint Michael, Saint Paul, Saint all of this, when you pray for them to say that wherever they are, because if they were good people, you believe that what? That their spirits live
yeah,
on now.
yeah, see
So
the
we are praying, Yeah. So you say, intercede for us. There is nothing wrong in calling on the God of your forefathers, especially if you know that your forefathers were not evil.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it is
Mm-hmm.
not about, I'm a Christian, a faithful, fervent Christian, and I pray all the time, and I have experienced not just salvation, but the leadership of the Holy Spirit in my life. And the knowledge I do have, and in everything that I do, I have seen the power of the authority of the Holy Spirit, and I've discovered that it is in the value of truth.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that value of truth in your heart, and the value of love, and the value of hope, you will realize that it starts revealing things to you, even about yourself. So much so that even if you yourself do a bad thing, you will have no peace until you repent, until the spirit of that evil goes away. There are, in demonology, there are three kinds of spirits. Anyway, we don't go into that now.
Don't
We
worry,
will go into
what do you say about truth? Everything is about truth. Like, when we have issues and they want to, there's a problem and they want to make peace back in the village, they'll bring water, right, and say kayonjo, that speak, say,
that's
yeah,
it.
or reconciliation. Do you know that if you are pretending that you are forgiven when you are not forgiven, when you drink that water, it's going to affect you? As you say, it's about the truth in you.
It's true. That's right.
Yeah.
That's it. And if
Yeah.
someone
So,
calls, if
yeah.
someone calls your name up to today, whether you go to church or not, if you
Mm-hmm.
believe in God, and if
Mm-hmm.
someone does something evil to you and you cry in your heart, it
Mm-hmm.
affects the person.
Exactly.
And yes, and
Exactly.
if God wants you to see it, because there are so many things I never believe. I did not even used to believe that witchcraft was existing. But the
Mm-hmm.
greater you have faith, the greater the revelations of spiritual happenings to you.
Mm-hmm.
Then you begin to
Mm-hmm.
understand that, hey, so we have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
this life we are living is more spiritual than the physical.
Wow.
So, so in fact, the Wimbum people are a very spiritual people, but we don't worship the spirits. We worship God. But the
Thank you
only
so
challenge
much.
that yes, and then the only problem we do have is that we have been um, introduced into a cultural pattern which does not reflect us, and in the end, we are like confused. So sometimes it's like your family, if it gets very big today, it can become an entity of its own. It no longer has anything to do with the other. You see brother fighting brother, sister fighting sister, village fighting village over things which are nothing. Things
So,
that
so
we
what?
came from that.
Yeah. So before we go, I know you have been doing research on this. So, what advice? Just an advice with this confusion. What kind of advice? What's the way forward? How can this be solved?
Yes, the way forward is that our culture and anthropology particularly, historiography is not from history, even though historians make good use of it. It is more of from the basis of anthropology and archaeology. So you dig very deep in order to know only that which is true. You need to even do testing by DNA to be able to confirm it. In other words, that anthropology is taught in our primary schools, and above all, that our culture be taught in all secondary schools.
Mm-hmm.
And we should change our educational the curriculum structure, the course
Structure.
outlines. We should change them, do an assessment of skill manpower needs and the priorities of our people, and that is what we should impose in our educational system. We should not continue teaching people the things we inherited from some people that were teaching us for their own purpose. We keep
Mm-hmm.
teaching our own people the same things, and the things are not applicable to us and they are not useful. So, if we do a deep root cause analysis or assessment of those skill manpower needs, and we prioritize them and come up with course outlines that will help our people so that they fit, or better still, they easily use what they have learned in order to help themselves, There will be self-sufficiency. There will be satisfaction. In fact, we will easily give up all those material things and then anchor on the real thing that unites us, which is value. We'll be more value oriented than material oriented. People are dying on high seas because they're going to look for bread abroad. Meanwhile, they have everything from what they were nursed and brought up at home, which they could have been trained to add value to it, then be able to live on.
Okay. Very well. See, that is all. Could be me na this bara wa lo mi sisi we la you as mo kan jo you say la me na you buy you mo. The bibi you see, bibi any you see. Kulaka mo yung bu
You
wolo
know,
la kulaka bu mo alzi mo sin saka ne abi yung girham do ayu sine. We ka you we di mi lan sine do sine we mo. So you ne we ha
you know,
yo bo ne wala ne tandi ko. Sa bandu abo abo we mo so.
Abu Wemos, you know,
Abo we mo.
Wemos, family.
Yeah, kita yung mo na wala amun furo mbane baka ku yung sigi na
But,
baka mo
but,
so kula ka yung shale ni alzimbo mi
you know, Bilane, Ambosi, you are be, Hakitur, Bovisi, Shina, you too, Shina, Gitina, Lessi, Abia, Ken, Wikuda. Every time we was Lane, Abi Yunget, I have Muto. Abi Yunget na la bako ya chuka. Allah, Shine, Jisi Mak, Shinemba, Bon, Fushinem Turbi. Shine Jishi, you, Majeng, Imsilane, we ba, Binjo, Abi yo, Nge, si abase ne, aku da ambom kwa awa. We mango nga babi ya mwaba. Si da ambom kwa awa. Si cho, ye bi shina bi ka agrang si shina yu as giwo we ku bu besi as care ba si ka njo bi as succeed at gi si jabe si ada si den ha iru so ko nje na ha ba ngen be si min dabe si bu si ringa ba bi ti si bo so ko nwe si libi vi si chine si ale kuntom jika yana ya iba yen so si ba bi wa ring ne music yo we babi bana we win no alane we ka roye babi bana bi ikoni ye and then you we bi ba ebi kisimi ndumo so ka babi ba mo use en njim no bana si use en bangim no and then you say zero si bi koni ban chumo se si fa lane ndobe shine yu mu aka yu fura ka banin be so kodi ka mu habi mu ba yana adasa pepsi ana me kwa nantinyo ka si frontinyo ka njisi to bi kondon yu ko go se mbani yu ko go nyambe debsi bu aka bang we na be bang we mbo shila yu mini no ring abo mfurji si mo balare nyonji ila le mini ki tulen karka yana kuba ba limbo Wimbum, I'm Wimbum, Akaba, Wimbum, Silla, Mini Bana, Trunkarka. But I can't do Bango. Tigi, you boom, Minishina, being a minambo, Kimbansu, Yuna, Bani Bibi Kongwe. But Ibaz Siafa, a bang which I will la mini. When I be bamboo, Abilana, when I'm thinking, Badumbo, I be book. So I just see she boo bonbon, Nimbita, ni Nimbanika, di bonbon ki eva funji munjana ka. Si ringa si mo se mbomang mo sir yusi si la ke nendi la na we mu si shin ke ji wana fa abo am ke in festus and then purvisi pa vinji abo Gilbert we especially Dr. Oliver Kim Kan Jimbi we ba bashiwi ba all of what we are calling nji talking bang njo we are yambo bi ba bi si gibu si jere bi si gif bu ni fi si jere we are putting in the fonga line te si literally ring visit to and then put it so that si go ring si ring visit nyoro as bibi gi si te si ba bi balambo si bo visit to bo aka ndo bi shi aka te ri yo nyoka silane aywe we hamfuro bale balambo abo si batuwa Abosi to table, people you enjoy to you more amo for we can buy to the can buy to go for abo you can yai. Table abo ye, but I can ring you banjo mini, a ring na low you must see a
Mm.
ring a be enjoy sham fro. To be
Mhm.
she true na ke chaweka. You ne si wa and si ring ne wimbome atutikari. Even though me give ya research the way do ba ma yungana bisa sume bugor abima fumba
Mhm.
wimbo ya atutikari uya mbushi wetu ni tala buyunjo shine you into shine you more than 3 4 5 thousand years about kiri about so many other book shine bu shine ime ma wutenga matio right from ganga adu ko banki akivuma mbajeng adu mbibu su te bu mo fa wa ko giti su te banye njiptala boyuna renti ne so
Mhm.
njo bike maybe shine bu mo yo shine it is sung a lot of story about who we are about bu shine bi shine si yo so si babi njo bi shi all the si nyamde ne si yo babi ka njo bi shi enu ku gete ne bo ba ngwe gon jito si bi
Mm.
ba mi yapto wa si ku jab jab bu ba chichi
Mhm.
very
Mhm. Wow. Very well said. Well, ahora yo,
very
ame tu la hasi na tina ntini ta ka bi si kula le ba kuchuka si la ni si dum si amu la ni action na si la dum si yo si yule ngwe mo si yu ngwe mo si
no
so
action
la
bong bong the biggest
yeah yeah, actually, bonbon. Waka yo newe, we yem fro, we to mbayo we lo rimo, and enjoy food ne mwenje gwa, we uri mwenje ta, we rine mwenje biari, we kaba yo nyondi ku, jo yule we mos, si va bila, pour ça me dit c'est une gonte, mambo mo ye konte si bo bala mbobi. So, baby we say, let me avulani wona. Thank you so much. Thank you. I can't really, say thank you enough for this talk. It has been rich. Um, many people have been writing, they have been learning. So, any questions before we leave for our guests? If not, I will definitely tell you when the next conversation will not stay for long so that we don't forget, right? Will not stay for long so that we don't forget. We'll pick some of those areas in the culture, like yeah, time for me Ike talk about marriage the other day. And from your comments, there's still another part that I want you to think about it. Maybe next time when we come, we talk about this plan to be we get into all of that and other issues that we need to learn because there are a lot of things that we are doing out of ignorance, right? So it's good that we learn about our culture, we know your origin, and you know certain things. It's important, and I will beg that the book you are writing
yeah.
be very open public because that is where we get more information. Huh? We need that book. You need to publish it fast.
Yeah. And what and why they are why they are writing also I want to take
Yes.
this time to also greet someone who is online, Nick Jackson. He's in Colorado. I think,
Okay.
when I just left the university, he began this ride with me. It was just like a joke. We're going to so many funny places, Sabi, and then finding out that was in the 1990s. I was still a young man in my late teens, and 90 around 96, I think 95, 96, 97, with Nick Jackson. So Nick Jackson, hello, thank you so much for taking time to watch us
Nick
online,
Jackson,
and
welcome. There's also
you are a
Light.
Wimbum child.
Yes. There's Lucian Light. There's Vanessa. There is one Pancakes. There is Yamala Bell. I saw George Pangong too. I saw Mr. Tanko Oliver. Many of them have been there. I saw Richard Comfort. All of them, they were watching. And thank you all for watching. And I think we can call it a day. Very well. See, move on away. More inspiration.
Melo Phone, I'm praying that God should keep on using you in the manner in which He's using you. You are cutting across a lot of barriers, and you are bringing a lot of meaning to the values that we do incarnate as Wimbum people. God bless you.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, my brother. We put everything in God's under God's control, and God will show us
Thank
God's lead. That's what we're following, right? Thank you so much, and more inspiration. So see you next time. God bless you. Bye
you.
bye.
Yes.
Thank you all for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.